Hello, my friends. I hope you guys are enjoying the start of spring. I know for me, it's been a game changer for my mental and emotional health, as well as my physical health, being able to get outside and in the sunshine. So I hope you guys are enjoying that. Sorry, I'm shedding. I'm here today to create a little video about some of the things that have helped me through my breakup, which happened 5 weeks ago. I know it's still really fresh, but I approached this breakup so differently than ones in the past, and it's been immensely helpful for me. And I did a post about this on Instagram, and it got a lot of interaction. You guys seemed really, or my Instagram community seemed really, really interested in it. So I thought I would expand a little bit more here in a video. All right, the first thing that I have been doing since my breakup is gentle exercise. I love high intensity workouts and cardio and getting a sweat on. And before the breakup, I was doing that pretty regularly. I was watching Mad Fit videos here on YouTube and doing a lot of her stuff. But just the toll of going through that grief and that heartbreak, I just knew my body needed something a little bit more low key, but I still wanted to be moving. So I did a lot of yoga. And I actually did hot yoga, which is not something that I haven't done it in years, but it just felt very cathartic. And then a lot of just gentle walking. And I think that really just helped me not add an additional stress to the stress I was already going through and not jacking up my cortisol and my adrenaline and all of those stress hormones. The second one is prayer. And if this doesn't resonate with you, you can just ignore it. I'll have a timestamp below for when you want to skip over that. But for me, cultivating my relationship with God is something that I pray regularly. I pray every night and have pretty consistently, but it did drop off near the end of my relationship. I felt too overwhelmed. And so my prayer went by the wayside. And in the last 5 weeks, I've made a point to really talk to God and be as vulnerable as possible. And I'm working through a process of handing my shame and my guilt over to God along with everything else that I struggle with. And for me personally, that has been incredibly powerful to see myself through God's eyes and be really forgiving and gentle with myself. And I also know that that's going to play a huge role in who comes into my life next as my next romantic partner down the road. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. All right, no alcohol. So I have a really healthy relationship with alcohol overall. I would say normally I drink a couple times a week, but not in excess most of the time. The vast majority of the time, I just have a glass or two of wine and maybe a few cocktails, that kind of thing. But I knew in my bones that drinking during this grief and heartbreak was not going to serve me. So I have not had a sip of alcohol in probably 5 weeks. And then really before that, I think as I was feeling a little bit more delicate near the end of the breakup, I really didn't drink much then either. And I cannot recommend it enough. I cannot recommend it enough just from my own experience, and it could definitely be different for you. But not consuming alcohol has allowed, especially when there are the occasional sleepless nights where there's just those feelings of sadness and anxiety, I know any amount of alcohol would make it worse. Along the listening to your body sort of theme, I guess I could have grouped exercise in with this and with alcohol. Easy to digest food, giving myself grace and permission to eat foods that that were sort of comfort food and that were not necessarily veggie packed. I mean, I've definitely gone days without consuming a vegetable, and I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm only speaking from my experience that letting myself have sort of memory, emotionally based foods while also being conscious of getting some nutrition in has been helpful. Egg sandwiches on grainy bread. So egg and cheese sandwiches on some nice whole grain bread turned into kind of a grilled cheese type thing. Quesadillas using the Siete Foods tortillas, which are grain free, and then just filling them with kind of pizza-y toppings like the pizza quesadilla that I did in my last one I eat in a day, that kind of thing. Granolas and cereals, a lot of fruit and yogurt, just really simple Again, easy for me personally to digest. A friend of mine made me congee, which is a rice soup, and that was perfect. And then lots of smoothies. I have been having lots of smoothies because they go down easily. They're easy to whip up, and keeping those relatively simple. Banana, almond milk, flaxseed, a little bit of protein powder, and maybe some frozen cauliflower rice or cabbage, frozen cabbage. I know it sounds crazy, but that was an easy way to get some nutrients in that I didn't have to chew on. So smoothies were fantastic. And then chocolate, I had a lot of chocolate, super cliche. I think overall that balance of making sure I'm getting in some micronutrients, vitamins and minerals and fiber, while also not forcing myself to chow down on kale salad when it doesn't sound good at all, was a good move. Gratitude and daily thought work. So I am working with a coach. I'm working with a traditional therapist, but I'm also working with a coach who's helping me do thought work, and I can leave her link below. But I have been doing a lot of writing down what my thoughts are about my life, every aspect of my life, and really getting to the root of what is the actual thought, not just focusing on all the feelings and the emotions, but what is the thought behind the choices that I'm making and the whys in my life. And I know that sounds really meta, but I'm telling you that's probably one of the top 3 things that's been the most powerful for me, is understanding the thoughts that have led to the different scenarios in my life, and then how I am actually at the helm of reverse engineering those thoughts and creating new thoughts that can lead me to the results that I really want in my life. That has been unbelievable. So I'll leave my coach's link below and you can check out what she does. But for me personally, game changer. My kitty, I have shown my cat, her name is Iron Man. I'll tell that story another day, but I have the most beautiful, sweet, amazing cat, and I'm such a crazy cat lady. And I've just really focused on giving her tons of love, letting her love on me. I'm sure those of you who have pets feel the same way, but if you do have a pet, sometimes when you're in grief or you're stressed out, you can ignore them a little bit other than to take care of their basic needs. I'll be honest, there have been times where I've been so upset that of course I take care of her, but I'm not lavishing love on her. And I've really made a point to just give her all the cuddles and hugs and kisses and allow her to do that. She's a really affectionate cat. So rely on your pets. They will just be so thrilled. My roommate. So I've been living with a friend named Megan before I moved to Asheville. So we've had 5 weeks together, and we'll have about another month together. And we are going to do a separate podcast or something on adult roommates. But living with her has been really, really healing for me, being able to debrief with her. She's a therapist, so I'm really spoiled. But even just having a dear, smart friend to debrief with, to go on long walks with, to have dance parties with, I think that there is a whole stigma around this concept of adult roommates. And I know for us, that has been a great thing. And we will part ways in a month and, do our own thing. But for this period of time, it's really just been incredibly nourishing. So one thing I've struggled with, especially the first couple of weeks, and I kind of got my mojo back in the last few weeks, but in those first few weeks, work felt really overwhelming. And if you're in my community, you probably didn't notice because I still had a lot of output. And that is because, one, I want to say it would have been okay for me to take it down a notch and to give myself that permission to not be constantly creating content. But I did have quite a few obligations that I had to fulfill that legally with work. And so I would just ask myself when I was feeling unmotivated, what is one small thing I can do to move towards that work goal? I can test the recipe. Okay, take a break. I've tested it. I can photograph the recipe. Okay, take a break instead of trying to do it all at once. I can write half of a blog post instead of 3 blog posts. I can just write out one. I can put up an Instagram post with something from my cookbook that I've forgotten to share about that you may not know about. So just asking yourself, what's one little thing that I can do to move me towards my work goals has helped me not feel overwhelmed. Reading. Oh my gosh, I totally got out of the reading habit. I find reading to be therapeutic. I find it to be an escape. I'm not a huge reader of like self-help type of things. I did read some bits and pieces of Untamed by Glennon Doyle because I had so many recommendations for it, and I definitely got some great nuggets out of it. But for me, the best things that I have been reading for my healing are fiction. And I actually have one I've been reading in particular, and I can't tell you what it is because it's a friend's draft. Even though her book isn't fiction, it's a memoir. It's actually a combination. I think she infuses fiction into it. Something that's not just directly focused on solving my problems and healing, for me, was just a really great choice to let my imagination go and just go to another place. Oh my gosh, this next one was the hardest for me, and that is to ask for help from my friends and my family. I don't like to ask for help. I love to ask for advice. I love to chatter away and ask everyone's opinion on what I should do. And but I never end up taking anyone's opinion anyway if it doesn't ultimately, like, I've realized as I'm going through this process of getting to know myself that I actually usually know what I want and who I am. So I don't need to be taking in all this information from people. While I love to get people's opinions, I don't usually ask for help, actual favors in life and support. And I've been doing that with my best friends and with my family, saying, hey, can you do me a favor and support me in some way? And oh my God, I can't even tell you what a gift that has been to allow the people who love me to show me that they love me. That definitely is one of the most amazing things that's come out of it, because I think I had started to question. I was in such a place of lack and self-worth questioning that I had started to feel like I was a burden to the people in my life, and going to that scary place of saying, hey, I need help and I need a favor or whatever it is up there. Yeah, I would say with the thought work and with God, asking for help from the people who love me and letting them love me is awesome. So, and I do want to just mention, I mentioned I have a therapist and she's phenomenal. So therapy has been incredible. And along those lines, letting myself cry. Obviously, I just got emotional and I let myself cry. So letting yourself feel the feelings, I think it's so easy to push them away. And I'm a very logical person in a lot of ways. So I can logic my way out of feelings sometimes, and I'm not letting myself do that. I'm letting myself, as much as possible, feel all of those feelings and just get it out. And therapy has been phenomenal. A really great therapist can do wonders. And I actually do a 2-hour intensive with her once a month. To wrap this up, with all 3 of my serious relationships in the last 10 years, I can see that I was not coming from a fully whole, independent, totally in love, wild and crazy about myself place first. And that has to happen. And so for the first time, probably really in my whole life, I am being present with being single and being present with myself and understanding, who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? What are my deal breakers? What does and doesn't work for me, so that I can in the future reflect what is the right relationship for me. It has been the coolest freaking process ever. I can tell you, in 5 weeks of doing this, I feel like I know myself better than I have since I was in high school, where you're just still, when you're young, you know yourself in certain ways that you let go of as an adult because you haven't fully internalized all the stories. So I know myself better than I have in so long, and then even better than before with all of my life experiences. And I'm also just really totally falling in love with myself. And I've been talking to myself in the mirror, in the car, asking myself questions, complimenting myself, because that's not something I have let myself do. I'm so uncomfortable with compliments and praise. I mean, it feels good, of course. I like it, but I'm really uncomfortable with it. And so I've been treating myself like I am the love of my life. And I know that's so cheesy, but man, it has worked for me. I feel this deep internal stand growing inside of me that I haven't had, where I'm like, I am going to come out of this experience with such a clear understanding of what is the right relationship for me. It's not about anybody else. It's not about anyone from my past. What is right for me? What do I want? What are my boundaries? What are my non-negotiables? What are the things I'm looking for? Because I know them about myself. and I don't equivocate in that way. So falling in love with myself, being my number one fan, being my own best friend, loving my single life. And I'll do a separate video, I think, on all the things I love about being single. For the first time, I'm really feeling that way. I'll stop now, but I hope this was helpful. Please comment below if it was. Let me know what content you want to see more of, and I will talk to you guys soon.